River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our 100th episode spectacular of Niner Nuts. I'm Dan, here along with James. James, say hello.
Go Birds!
And we have a room full of people with us this time. We got Jackson over by James. We got Trevor below us. We got Superfan Eric below us as well. We may or may not have a couple more people pop in and out during this, but yeah, guys, it's our 100th episode. We wanted to bring on people that have been on with us to help celebrate this beautiful, magnificent milestone. We're not strictly talking about Niners on here. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. James, do you want to take the wheel on this ship?
Sure. So guys, if you're new to the show, haven't been listening to us from the beginning, Jackson's been on the show. He does our draft analysis, pre-draft analysis before the draft. So if you listen to the pre-draft show, he was the one analyzing some of those players before the draft. Does a really great job doing that. Then we have, as everybody knows now, probably Superfan Eric. You all recognize him. If you want to know where he came from, well, we met him because we ran a write-in contest. Once we hit, I believe it was like 500 followers, we had a write-in contest, and that's where Superfan Eric comes from. And then we have one of our very first listeners, loyal Miami Dolphins fan, Trevor. And Trevor and I have been good friends since we worked together at a very high-profile department store. I'll just say everybody beats on them because guess what? People don't look like they like their jobs there. So yeah, that's where we met. Trevor is a very avid Miami Dolphins fan. He was on for an episode. And if everybody remembers, a couple of weeks ago, the Eagles played the Dolphins, and the Eagles pretty much handled the Dolphins in Philadelphia. And maybe what you don't know is that Trevor and I had a little bet that whoever lost the game, the loser would have to sing the other team's fight song. So since I won, or the Eagles won, we are getting ready to do the fight song. Trevor is going to do it with me. And Dan, whenever you're ready, you can do the honors.
Well, first tell me how loud this is versus when I tested it.
Not that loud.
Okay, I'll turn it up just a teeny. I mean, it's supposed to be about you guys, so I don't want to drown you all out. That's why I was testing it one last time. Okay, so I'm gonna hit play in 3, 2, 1.
Fly, Eagles, fly, on the road to victory. Fly, Eagles, fly, score a touchdown, 1, 2, 3, hit 'em low, get high, and watch our Eagles fly, fly, Eagles, fly, on the road to victory. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
You could see the pain entering.
Yeah. Yeah. His soul was absolutely devastated by that. It really was.
The fun part is when teams who have never, like fans of other teams who have never been to the Eagles Stadium, like the Patriots, when they played us in the Super Bowl, I met Patriots fans who went to the Super Bowl, and we're like, they played that song after every touchdown at the Super Bowl. Because they bring it out at the Super Bowl, and all Patriots fans are annoyed by it in 52. So,
and they had to hear it, what, like 5 times? I can't remember the final score.
5 times, I think. There were they scored 2 field goals and 5 touchdowns, I think. So That was 41-33. Yeah, they had to hear it 5 times. And it's when you love it, it's great. Just to annoy other fans.
I sang it after the NFC Championship game, didn't I?
No, you sang it. We had another bet. It was another bet that we bet on, and that you sang it. I don't think you sang it at the NFC Championship game. Was Philly Special versus the Catch? Remember?
Oh, right, the photo, yeah. And
Yeah,
we still honored that bet, even though that game had the act of God in it.
Yes. But we do week 13, we have the spicy chip bet. So that's our bet for week 13. So
I guess that's a good question to throw to everybody. With the way that the team looks now, because this is still a Niners podcast, I'll open the floor to you guys so we can talk about both the Eagles and the Niners. Who would you put that money on right now, if that's not a very kind of duh question, with one team 7-1 and one team on a 3-game losing streak? I guess whoever wants to take it first.
yeah,
I mean, that's Eagles easy money right now. I mean, the Niners won't be able to stop them any way, shape, or form defensively. So they'll scheme. I mean, AJ Brown and Devonta Smith will just run all over them. I mean, and Swift will run all over. I mean, it'll be gross right now, so it won't even be a competition. So I would.
I'm glad you said it, Eric. I'm glad you said it.
I mean, it hurts me to say that. It hurts me to say that a lot, because I want that. I mean, I've been looking forward to that game all season long, but in the position that we're in right now, it wouldn't even be a competition. I mean, the Bengals aren't even near the class of what the Eagles are in terms of a football team, and the Bengals made us look stupid yesterday. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to see the Eagles right now.
Well, the Bengals have a good defense. The Bengals do have a good defense. I mean, the Bengals defense, for the most part, is even good at shutting down Patrick Mahomes. So I think what it was, you saw a young quarterback go against a good defense, and look, that one interception. What was it? The second interception. That linebacker baited him. He completely baited him, and Purdy wasn't experienced enough to know that he was being baited. So that comes with growing pains and stuff. So after this bye week, I think by week 13, the 49ers will be better prepared for the Eagles, because I'm still not taking that game lightly, because I think you guys will still come in with a mission that, you guys felt like you were the better team last year. And yeah.
Historically, the last 2-3 years, we've been bad before week 8 and then came out and figured it out and got to the NFC Championship. So, I mean, that's not out the window of possibility yet, obviously. Jackson or Trevor, either of you have a thought on state of the Niners or the Eagles-Niners game?
I'll say the Eagles, only because I feel like the 49ers are just not a team that can really get punched in the mouth and recover very well. Dan, I think the stat is like Shanahan is like 1-34 or something like that when he trails by more than 3 going into the fourth quarter. And I know the Eagles are a team, they've both got like a ton of talent, like arguably 2 of the most talented teams in the league, if not the most. So that's not really a question for either of them. It's just a matter of, what's the old, I think it's Mike Tyson, like everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And it's just, I haven't seen the 49ers really handle it that well when they've had to play from behind. And
not this season.
Yeah, no, not this season at least. As opposed to Philly. I know they weren't maybe they were trailing going into the fourth quarter against the Commanders. I can't remember, but they were like
it wasn't the fourth quarter, but they were down 14-3 early in that.
Yeah, they were
handling our defense. Like
exactly. Like they were there was definitely some struggles in that game. They were not in control of that football game.
I will say this, Eric Bieniemy has the Eagles number, because
he does.
He was the guy who was behind the Super Bowl last year, and figuring out that the Eagles had no way to stop a certain play in the red zone, and they exploited that twice. Twice they ran the same play in the red zone, and twice they succeeded. So I just think Eric Bieniemy, he just knows how to beat that Eagles defense, and he's just good at it.
He does. He has them figured out.
Yeah,
so to speak. So yeah. So I'll side with the Eagles really only because of that.
I mean, can't really blame you, Trevor. What were you thinking?
I think it's going to be the Eagles, but it might be a close game. It depends on how the 49ers adjust their pass defense right now, because it's dropped significantly from what it was just 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
They'll probably shut down Swift because their run defense is still top tier.
Yeah, I mean, Swift hasn't gotten a lot of yards the last 2 weeks. He's been pretty much stopped, and personally, I think it's because they have a serious downgrade at Opeta at right guard. Like Cam Jurgens was the start of the year at right guard, and Opeta has not looked that great. For me, it's no coincidence that when Cam Jurgens went out, that the run game started to not be as good. But what we saw is that if you force Jalen Hurts to be a passer, he can be a passer. He has a bum knee right now, but he's not running as much. But yet, the Commanders' defense, which gave him trouble, a couple weeks ago in Philly, I mean, they should have scored 50, basically. If Kenny Gainwell doesn't fumble, and if Jason Kelce gets the ball into Hurts' hands on a brotherly shove, like it would have been 50 to 31. It's what should have happened. And so, yeah, I mean, and AJ Brown, can you really dispute, with the fact that Justin Jefferson is not playing so much this year? Can you really dispute AJ Brown being the best wide receiver in the league right now?
Tyreek Hill's still up there.
Yeah, that Tyreek.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill does have 1,000 yards.
I was gonna. Yeah, that's
Tyreek is murdering it right now.
Tyreek is murdering it, but still, Tyreek is not the first player to go 6 straight games with 125 plus receiving yards consecutively.
Tell that to the class of people he's with that hit 1,000 yards in 8 games. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, and look at the class that AJ Brown is in. Now he's in his own class, and he surpassed Megatron and one other receiver. So
he passed Megatron now. He didn't just tie him.
Yeah, he passed him. He's in his own class.
Okay, respect.
Yeah, so that's why I'm making this case, because he is in his own class now, and Tyreek's got 1,000 yards in 8 games, which is the first in the Super Bowl era. But AJ Brown's punch for punch, he's 125 yards, 6 straight consecutive games. Like, you can't ignore that, since he's the first receiver. They're going to be
the 2 All-Pro receivers this year. Like, they would be if the season ended now. They'll, like, since there's 2, if you don't count the flex receiver or the flex position, they will undoubtedly be the 2 All-Pro wide receivers at the end of the year. I'll go ahead and just stake that now.
Yeah. I mean, AJ Brown's on a tear. Tyreek Hill's on a tear. It's just, I mean, I'm gonna fight for my guy, because he just goes out there and makes plays, and his Twitter handle is always open. And guess what? Even in triple covers, he's always open. Like, he just goes up and gets the ball, and you can't he runs every route. I mean, it's not like he's just running, deep shots. He runs every single route. And that play yesterday against the Commanders, 1-on-1, just one-handed grab, then into his body, both feet down at the end zone. I mean, I don't know. Trevor, you watched the Dolphins. Has Tyreek Hill made a contested catch like that?
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's made a few of them. He also, in some of the games, he hasn't even played the entire fourth quarter. So that's one thing about yards.
That is
They could passed
true.
1,000 sooner,
Well,
but
he's
they
got-
did pull him twice.
His attribute is his speed, though. So I mean, how often does he run into a corner or a safety that is contesting him versus just trying to play catch with him, like trying to play catch up to him?
He's also very short, so a lot of the comeback catches he has to compete with their height. The interception with Slay that happened, they pulled them all to that corner and he just couldn't come back to it. But there's been quite a few instances where it's been close where he's had to contest with a wide receiver with a quarterback who's taller than him.
So,
Well, I mean, every quarterback's taller than him, right? We're being straight with it.
Tyreek's what, 5'10"?
Maybe on a good day.
Honestly, I think the only player shorter than Tyreek Hill is Boston Scott. Like,
no. I'm gonna look up this player and share my screen again. I swear to God, there's this guy on the Cowboys.
Deuce Vaughn. Yes.
Oh,
yes. I know.
Yeah. So let me toss out an interesting question then, since we're talking about these guys, right? So we got Tyreek.
I found it.
We got AJ.
How tall is Boston Scott? He's like 5'5".
We got Tyreek. We got AJ, and then we've got CMC, right? Out of those three guys, can any of them win MVP?
If Tyreek Hill does get 2,000 yards, with the way no quarterback is really solidifying themselves, it doesn't seem like, as the MVP. I would say if Tyreek Hill hits 2,000 yards, he's going to get the MVP. And if Christian McCaffrey can keep his streak going of touchdowns, of one touchdown per game, like if he can move into the part where he's there by himself, very much like AJ Brown and Tyreek Hill right now are in a class by themselves, especially if Tyreek Hill gets 2,000 yards. I mean, all three of them, if they can move into that area, then I think it's very likely that they could win MVP, given also that no quarterback really has come out and really solidified their stamp as the MVP of the league this year.
I think McCaffrey had MVP locked up through the first 5 games of the season when the Niners were demolishing everybody. Now I think that they've kind of fallen off. I think his luster has worn off just a little bit, even though I think he's still performing really well. So I guess I'm curious as to what you guys think of that kind of going forward.
I think if he still surpasses 1,600, let's say, total yards, because he's clearly not. It's not likely at the way that we're going right now that he's going to cross the century mark one way or the other. But he's very consistent at getting over 100 total yards. So, assuming he still keeps going on pace to go over 1,600 or 1,700 total yards, and then, my God, he's on pace for like 30 touchdowns now because he keeps getting a touch and a receiving touchdown. I think he's going to have a phenomenal case for Offensive Player of the Year. But that's barring an injury to Tyreek Hill.
The last time a running back had more than 30 touchdowns in the league, I believe he was the MVP. That was LaDainian Tomlinson.
It's going to come down to both of them. Any other nominee you throw out right now, since we're basically doing like a mid-season check, you can make the argument that it's Tyreek Hill versus Christian McCaffrey. How the voters are going to feel between a 2,000-yard receiver versus a almost 2,000 all-purpose yard guy
with 30 touchdowns. Yeah,
you can definitely make the case. I'm not trying to sound like I don't think he deserves it. I'm not trying to sound like that. But what's going to be the more remarkable achievement at the end of the day is going to be what's in the voters' hands. And for me, it's easy for me to say Christian, but God, a receiver breaking the record the way that Tyreek is doing and just dominating. It's. I would not be upset if he lost MVP to Tyreek. I'll put it that way.
So we're essentially at the halfway point. McCaffrey is sitting at roughly 952 all-purpose yards and 13 total touchdowns.
Just
So
shy,
proje-
just shy of
projected-
2,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. Oh my God.
But
Amazing.
I mean, AJ Brown is making a case too. I think, I don't, he may, I got to see his touchdowns because he has a lot.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, look up his touchdowns. And
He's got to have at least 7.
he has a lot.
But no.
He has 5.
Oh, he only has 5? Okay.
He has 939 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Okay.
We got to think of do you think they're going to be petty and think about the team themselves too? Because this will tie into you too, James. You guys are winning a lot. Dolphins have been winning a lot. The Niners hopefully can get out of their skid, but if the Niners do end up being 8-9 or 9-8, do we think that they're going to be petty and weigh that into Christian's MVP? I mean, just food for thought.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. If the Niners aren't in the top 3, he has no shot at MVP.
Yeah, and I would say still, like, the Dolphins have an easier schedule than the Eagles, and I would say if Tyreek Hill does rack up those yards and Miami gets the number 1 seed, like if he gets to 2,000 yards, Miami has the number 1 seed in the AFC. The only person then who could beat him, I don't think, is AJ Brown. I think if Jalen Hurts could get through this gauntlet that they're in, coming out with only 1 or 2 losses, and a couple good wins against, like at least 1 good win against the Cowboys with Dak Prescott. If he can make it through this gauntlet with only 2 losses and finish the season at 14-3, with the way he's passing now, like, I don't think AJ Brown will be the MVP candidate. I think Hurts will be back on that stage as MVP candidate because he made, they went through that gauntlet. And if he goes through the gauntlet the way he went through the Commanders defense, then you're talking about him being MVP, I think, and it would be stacked up with Tyreek Hill and a 2,000-yard season.
Interesting.
I will say, just looking at kind of pouring over some of these like next gen stats that they have, Tyreek as opposed to AJ Brown has 6.4 yards after a catch as opposed to AJ Brown's 5. For Yak, no one is touching Tyreek Hill. There are players with more, but not even close to his sample size. Like George Pickens, I think, has more, DJ Moore, but like for the sample size that's in there, like no one's touching Tyreek. Same with separation too.
Yeah, and Tyreek Hill, even in the loss against the Eagles, still had 10 catches for 88 yards. I mean, that's a good fantasy day, and
oh, your PPR day is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about even in a bad game like against the Eagles, he still shined.
The first game he had was against Buffalo, where I think it was only 3 receptions, but he still managed to get 80 yards out of that.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing. Like his bad day is still a good day for most receivers. And like
that's just absurd.
I would only say like the only way AJ could elevate himself into the conversation if just he ends up doing this streak for an even longer amount of time. Like if he just really crushes that streak record, which they play some good defenses, they play some good teams. So he would have to sustain what he's on now for most of the season, throughout more of the season and keep the consecutive games going for him to even be just in the conversation. That's how I would see it. Just because, receivers winning, MVP, really it takes a big season for that to happen. I don't even know who the last receiver was. I think it was Jerry Rice. Did Jerry Rice win it?
No receiver's ever been MVP.
So yeah,
it's a quarterback award, basically.
It is a quarterback award. And you look at Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice in 1987, I think it was, or 88, had 23 touchdowns in 12 games. strike shortened season, 23 touchdowns or 22,
Yeah.
22, not 23, because Randy Moss got the 23, but 22 touchdowns in 12 games. Still couldn't win Jerry Rice an MVP.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, that's
I guess
arguably
you could-
the best season a receiver's ever had. You know?
that's just what makes it so hard for a skill position player to get it. Like, that's why it's got to be somebody like Tyreek getting 2,000 yards or Christian McCaffrey getting 30 touchdowns. Like, because otherwise, like, we could say that right now it's looking like it's going to be uncharted territory for an MVP because who really is playing quarterback the best right now? Like, I'm genuinely drawing a blank asking this. Like, who is the best quarterback playing right now? Because Patrick Mahomes, you could say, has chinks in his armor. Jalen Hurts has chinks in his armor. No one's really just destroying it solely with their arm right now, unless someone wants to throw out a name.
I am going to vouch for Jalen Hurts because the Commanders get talked about their defense, and he threw for over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. The fumble gets attributed to him, but it was a botched snap, and it never touched his hand.
Well, you guys are 7-1 too, so
we're 7-1. And like I said, if he continues, being a great passer throughout this gauntlet, gets at least one good win against the Cowboys, yeah, I think by the end of the year he'll be in that MVP conversation. Even and it'll be up against Tyreek Hill's 2,000 yards, and in that case, and generally it usually goes to the quarterback.
Lamar is going to get some sneaky consideration for MVP here before long.
He could.
Tua is also in the race, also, just because he's feeding off Tyreek Hill, and he has a few more interceptions lately and some bad passes, but still they're being carried through the air for most of their scores.
You're 100% right, Trevor.
Is Tua projected to hit 5,000 yards? Like, is that a stupid question? Like, is he actually on pace to hit 5,000 passing yards?
I could be wrong. But...
I'll look it up.
He's almost there, if I remember.
Well, Jalen Hurts is on pace for 4,500. He's on pace for 4,500 and something like 30 touchdowns and 12 rushing touchdowns. So that's his pace.
Tua's at 2,400 right now.
Yep.
Halfway through the season, so
just shy of the 17th
probably
game might push
just
him over.
barely hit 5,000 yards. Yeah, it would be probably about
give or take
yards. Yeah, because you got the 17th game in there, and if he hasn't locked up everything, that 17th game should put him over 5,000 yards.
But real fans don't. Real fans like us, if you didn't set a record in week 16, it doesn't count. Or I guess week 17 and week 18 doesn't count.
I mean,
yeah.
But season is season. Nobody's putting an asterisk by it. Come on.
No. Dan, James, wife is telling me dinner's ready, so I gotta hop off real quick. But I just want to say first, congrats on 100 episodes. No one covers Niners football like you guys, and it's always amazing to hear. And it's an honor that you guys thought of me to have on for 100 show. Someone that thank God Lynch isn't listening to our draft episodes.
What are you talking about? He clearly listens to our draft episodes.
He picked the first overall if he did. So, man, thank you guys
to our
so
draft
much.
episodes. I know it.
He took Jair Brown.
Hey, there's a couple, but hey, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Well, thank you for the work that you do for the show. Thank you for being a part of the show. You always bring good analysis, and then we definitely look forward to having you on again for the draft this year.
Exactly. Oh man, I can't wait. Hey, draft season starts as soon as the season ends, so I can't wait. Thank you guys.
Yeah, right. Thank you, man.
All right.
Hey, good to meet you, Jackson.
Nice to meet you, Eric. You too, Trevor.
Hey, Dan, you have the little scroll going on the bottom too, just in case you didn't know.
I know. It's been going. If I don't catch it at the very top, here's a little peek behind the curtains. If I don't catch it right at the very start, which I have never caught it right at the very start, it's just gonna go.
Yeah.
He messaged us in the chat, and that's okay. Did anyone else see the chat, or am I the only one with the chat?
I didn't see that.
I see it.
Oh, okay. I was just curious.
Is that,
has nothing
is
to
there
do with
anybody in
football,
the
but-
waiting room right now?
Nah, no one's in the waiting room below me.
Okay. Well, I mean, 100 episodes, man. Like when we started this, you know.
Well, hold on. Purdy's out of the MVP race.
So, I mean, so you throw that out there, Dan, it's kind of like a funny haha. If the 49ers were to turn this completely around and win the next 8 games for the rest of the season, I think he could climb back into it and be a real serious contender for MVP. Because, I mean, for them to roll through and win the last, so what are they, 5-3? So for them to win the last
9 games.
would be 9 games. Thanks. Math is hard. If they were to win the last 9 games and go 9-0 or 8-1 or something like that, he would definitely be in the talk.
In the conversation, it'd just be a matter of is there any team better than the 49ers at that point? You know.
And we talked about it in the episodes last week, James, when you weren't on, but people are going to have to start taking the Lions as a serious contender this season because their schedule is ridiculously easy for the rest of the year.
Yeah, the Lions have a ridiculously easy schedule. They beat the Chiefs on the road opening night.
Yep.
So they're a legit team. Yeah, they got brought down to earth by the Ravens, but you know, I think they're a well-coached team. I think they're a team that feels like they have nothing to lose because nobody ever expects anything from the Lions. And yeah, I do think the Lions are a sneaky team that you know, given the fact that the Niners and the Eagles have tougher schedules than them, especially and then the Eagles have a serious gauntlet. It's not even funny. I mean, they have the hardest schedule coming into this season. You know,
the Lions literally have one hard game left on their schedule.
Yeah,
that's it. They play the Cowboys in week 17, and that's it. Because now that Cousins is dead, the 2 Vikings games are nothing. So I mean, they play the Chargers next week, which is like an okay game, but we all know the Chargers just throw up all over themselves every time.
Favorites in all those games.
Yeah, and they play
in all those games, and you go to that Dallas game, week 17. Like, is it at home in Detroit?
It is in Dallas.
So it's Dallas. So,
but the Lions could very easily be 14-3, 13-4 at the end of the season.
Yeah. And so could the Eagles, and so could the 49ers, right?
The Seahawks, their schedule is pretty easy going out. According to strength of schedule left, they have the easiest schedule in the NFC.
Oh.
Do they really?
Yeah, they do.
Wow.
They're at 0.39.
And they just upgraded too.
Yeah.
A little bit. They went out.
Dude.
A big trade.
I didn't talk about it on yesterday's episode, but yeah, Seattle is now technically number 1 in the NFC West, and they just got freaking Dexter Lawrence from the Giants, who are clearly tanking now that they got rid of a captain in the middle of the season.
Yeah, but I mean, it's that whole interplay there for the number 1 seed and stuff like that. I mean, I think that I mean, right now we're sitting here in the Eagles are 7-1 and sitting at the top of the division, but like you're saying, James, their schedule is ridiculously hard over the next month and a half. You could be looking up at the Lions, you know, by the end of November.
I wouldn't put it past that. I really wouldn't, because
James, wasn't it the next 7 games? The next 7 games are all teams with winning records right now.
Yeah, I mean, we faced Dallas twice.
The Chiefs, Niners,
the Bills, the Niners. I mean, we already faced the Patriots and Dolphins, and we already faced the Jets. So yeah, we still have the Bills. I think
I'll get you here in a second.
I just pulled it all up. It's Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, Niners, at Cowboys, at Seattle. Or I didn't say that they're at home Cowboys, at Chiefs, home Bills, home Niners, at Dallas, at Seattle, home Giants, home Cardinals, at Giants.
Yeah, and honestly, the Eagles have not beaten Seattle since like 2008. Like they have, I'm serious, they haven't. Even in the Super Bowl year, they went out to Seattle and Seattle beat them.
I've told you time and time again, do not ever sleep on Seattle.
I don't when they play the Eagles.
That's a Meg Ryan movie, isn't it?
I definitely don't sleep on Seattle because they literally own us for the last 15 years. It seems like, they went out. The Eagles went out with the best team that the Eagles have since 2008 was 2017. They went out to Seattle. They were rolling. They had won like 9 in a row, and Seattle put it to them, and they beat them. They just beat them. It's hard to win in Seattle, and Seattle does the same thing to us when they come and visit us. Like the last win that we got, I believe, against them was in the Link in 2008. But even the times that they have come to the Link, they are not phased. And I think the last time we faced them at the Link was the playoff game in 2019. And, they knocked out Carson Wentz. And that was the game that Dougie P almost won a playoff game with Josh McCown. So.
Dude, preaching to the choir. Like, I don't know, Eric, if you know the exact record, but when it was strictly Russell Wilson versus just San Francisco, not Colin, not just Russell Wilson versus San Francisco. It didn't matter where it was. Literally, it was 9-1, like just an utter domination. It didn't matter what their record was or our record was. They were guaranteed 2 wins every freaking year, and it was I hated. That's why I hate them so much.
Yeah, it was terrible. I hated those games.
It was no matter how good we were, like guaranteed, and then obviously the NFC Championship game. But I'm right there with you. Mutual hatred for Seattle.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that I don't hate them. I just respect them. I respect them. I don't have a sports hate for them, but I respect them as a team. It doesn't matter if they're 1-5. Like they will find some way to beat the Eagles.
Pete Carroll is a great coach, and their GM is a very smart GM. I will agree with you there.
Yeah, and they have a tremendous home field advantage in that stadium. Like, they do. I mean, they were at one time, they had the most opponent false starts per game. Like, it's tough to play in that stadium. And then, they just know how to handle the road better than people think. And when they come to the Link, they are not fazed by Eagles fans. It doesn't matter what Eagles fans do or what that stadium is like. They have been unfazed. Now Geno Smith.
It's grunge music and coffee, dude.
Yeah. I mean, Geno Smith has never played in Lincoln Financial Field, if I'm correct. So that'll be more of a challenge, I think, for him. And I think the Eagles D is really, really good this year. As long as Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are in the middle of that line. So if they're there, I think we will beat Seattle, but if they're not there, I don't know. Seattle could beat us. Like, I mean, we would definitely be susceptible to their run game, to their passing game, because they would have more time. I mean, that's the one thing the Eagles get pressure from the edge, but it's a lot of it comes from those two guys collapsing in the pocket, in the middle, because then the quarterback has to step out, and here's Hassan Reddick or Josh Sweat coming on around the ends, So
I think did you just trade Sweat? Who'd you just trade? I saw you just traded a defensive lineman before.
Street. You traded him we gave a Street away to Atlanta with a 7th to get a 6th round pick in 2024.
Okay, I got the names mixed up. Never mind then.
Yeah. Street. I mean, we had 6 defensive tackles on the roster, so like that was always going to be the play. They were going to trade him. They're probably going to trade Derek Barnett, and then they'll have a roster spot for Julio Jones, because he's on the practice squad right now.
Oh, you guys just elevated him?
Yeah, we just elevated him. Like,
I thought you outright signed him.
No, we haven't outright signed him. He's on the practice squad, but they want to elevate him to the roster. But they have to they got rid of Street they have to get rid of another guy because Cam Jurgens is coming back. So they have to get rid of it. They have 52 spots right now. Cam Jurgens would make 53, so they need to get somebody off the books. It's probably going to be Derek Barnett.
Oh, here's a question. Trevor, sorry, what were you about to say?
They actually did elevate him for the Dolphins game because he was on the field. He made at least one catch in that game. That I remember.
Julio Jones?
Julio Jones was
he made a catch in that game.
Yeah.
Here's
Trevor, how are you feeling about your Dolphins this season, my man?
Feeling pretty confident considering the rest of our schedule.
Do you feel, I mean, like Super Bowl? I mean, do you feel that they can get all the way through the AFC? The AFC is a very loaded conference. Like, we talk a lot of NFC, obviously, and really there's probably three teams in the NFC. It's Philly, the Lions, and the Niners really still in the NFC. What are you thinking in the AFC as far as your Dolphins?
If we have to face Baltimore, they always knock us out of the playoffs. The Chiefs are pretty good right now. The Bills, if they make it, it's going to be a toss-up because you don't know. They're kind of like the Cowboys. It's either they blow everyone out or they get blown out or they lose at the last second.
Yeah.
So the Bills are really our only.
I don't trust the Bills in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And if Sean McDermott does an onside kick, they may have a Super Bowl. That's all. That's been my point. Like, he had an opportunity and he didn't take it. And since then, Josh Allen gets all this credit for having a good game. That one good game.
After what I saw against them in Tampa last week, I'm so suspect of Buffalo. I have what I saw them, how I saw them beat Tampa. They did beat them, but the way they beat them was not remotely dominant at all. If Chris Godwin was looking to his right instead of his left, that game would have gone into overtime. I'm so suspect of Buffalo. I think they're going to be one and done wherever they get into the playoffs. I bet they'll sneak into the playoffs, but they're going to be one and done. I have no faith they can actually get to the AFC Championship.
Honestly, if you gave me odds on the Bills making the playoffs or not making the playoffs, I might bet on them to not make the playoffs.
Right now, they're the last team in.
They're the last team in right now.
They were the first team out last week before the win.
Buffalo is so suspect. When do you guys play them again?
The last week of the year.
Damn. I would love to see. I want to see that rematch. I wish it wasn't the last week of the year because it's not likely. Well, no, Buffalo might be fighting for a playoff spot, maybe.
Trevor, if they
can beat the Bengals and if they can beat the Chiefs, they may have a good run because the division is really weak outside of Miami.
Yeah.
It
really is.
Even though Miami holds the tiebreaker.
Yeah. How important is home field to you guys, Trevor? Do you feel like Miami can go into a Kansas City or into a Cincinnati or into a Baltimore or any of these kind of cold weather places where weather might be a factor and win in January? Do you think they can do that?
That'd be a toss-up because right now they're having trouble with Midwest teams. And that's going north of. If they're in the Midwest, they've lost consistently. And right now, our O-line, we've lost 3 of our starters.
Yeah, so historically, too, like the Dolphins just really don't do good in those cold weather games up north in the playoffs. Like, it just historically, even back to Dan Marino, they really weren't that good all those years. Buffalo was great. Dan Marino would go into Buffalo with the cold, and the Dolphins just couldn't pull it off, no matter how good the Dolphins were.
Even week 17 of last year, we put up a good fight with them, but in the end, we just choked to a field goal in the driving snow.
Yeah, that's the only thing about Miami. I would think that Miami would need home field advantage to get to the Super Bowl.
Right now, though, we do have we're waiting for a chain to come back, hopefully by the Raiders in week 11. And he was one of our key off. He was doing the same thing Tyreek was doing through the air, through the ground.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You're a rookie running back guy?
Yeah, out of A&M.
Yeah. Dude, he was disgusting when he was playing.
490 yards in 4 games. and
Yeah.
8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Is
4.
Armstead
Yeah, he
ever
was
gonna-
ridiculous.
Is that lineman Armstead ever coming back?
No, I believe he's done for the season.
Oh, really? It was that
and
bad.
then I believe so, yes. And then we also lost another left tackle, and then our backup center had to move from right tackle to back to center again. So Eichenberg's been having some issues with snaps. Multiple snaps have been missed.
So you're in for you're looking for linemen like we are.
Yeah. Our offensive line is definitely the biggest weakness outside of our pass defense. But Jalen Ramsey did premiere and he picked off Mac Jones, so we're a little bit solidified in our secondary. And then we have Van Ginkel, of course.
No, I saw.
Yeah.
I saw the Mike McDaniel's reaction. I wasn't impressed with him.
Yeah.
God, I miss it.
But if you have to end up facing the Ravens with a banged up offensive line, as crazy as the Ravens pass rush has been this season, that would be worrisome.
Oh, definitely, because Tua doesn't do well when he has to scramble.
No.
He either gets the ball quick or he goes down.
Well,
Yeah.
But at least he's learned to fall.
we all know
Without hitting his head.
Does he have a different helmet this year than last year?
I think he has a more padded helmet. He also took jujitsu in the off season to learn how to fall down better.
Okay. But that's even weird for like a left-handed quarterback not to be a scrambling quarterback. You look at left-handed quarterbacks in the league, one of the ways they win is because they scramble. You know, Steve Young, Mike Vick, Tim Tebow, Kenny Stabler, Boomer Esiason was probably the only pocket one. And then you look to like maybe, Bobby Douglas was the scrambling left-handed quarterback. You look to the only two, I believe, that were pocket passers were truly that had any success in the league, even if it was 1 year, was Scott Mitchell and, Boomer Esiason. Everybody else who was a left-handed quarterback who had success in the NFL had to scramble for their lives.
He does scramble, so he's not purely pocket, but he scrambles in an awkward way at times. Like he'll scramble into the defender.
Like
he doesn't in Philly.
Like he doesn't look like, to me, he doesn't look like Steve Young or Michael Vick or Kenny Stabler out there when he scrambles,
or even Josh Allen.
Or even Josh Allen. Yeah. But I mean, if we're strictly talking left-handed quarterbacks, like typically left-handed quarterbacks have made their money in the league because they could scramble. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I remember I heard David Lombardi made a pitch to instead of just having like a kind of poised statue of Steve Young to go along with Dwight's and Joe Montana's, have him doing that awkward stumble, like in that mid stumble. I can't remember which game that was offhand.
The Vikings game, isn't it?
Yeah, the Vikings. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, that awkward, like almost about to fall on his face, and he falls in the end zone. Like,
one of my favorite Burger King commercials was when they put the King's head on top of Steve Young's head and did that play, did that sequence with the Burger King guy's head.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh man, you just reminded me.
Did you guys see the news come across the wire that the Cardinals are benching Dobbs and going to start Clayton Tune on Sunday against the Browns?
Yeah, not even Kyler Murray. I wonder if they're not starting Kyler because maybe we get a last-minute trade deadline deal.
I don't know. Well,
his injury's still far from where he needs to rehab. They were talking about him potentially starting, but then they pulled it up. They pulled it.
Yeah, their coach is being a little sneaky. He's kind of like, well, Kyler still might kind of maybe start, but if he doesn't start, then it's going to be Clayton Tune. So he's trying to be cagey, but it doesn't sound like Kyler's going to play.
Do not start him against that Browns rush. Do not. If you want his knee to maintain any integrity, just literally any game after Cleveland.
Miles Garrett will pick him up and just snap him in half like a snack.
Oh my God. He literally probably has like 8 inches and 100 pounds on him, like the size difference.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm probably taller than him. Like,
yeah. I mean, Murray, I don't think he was worth all that money, and
he won't be a Cardinal next year. I would take that bet now that he's not going to be a Cardinal next year.
I was surprised he was still a Cardinal this year, with given how his attitude's been. Because him and the coaches, even Kleinsberg, when he was under Kleinsberg, he wasn't, or Cliff Kingsbury, that was it. He was not doing well. Like, he had his own headstrong attitude, and he wasn't doing the planes like they wanted him to. And there was contention there.
I think if he wasn't hurt, Trevor, I think he would have been gone. I just think because he was hurt, they couldn't move on from him this season. So I think they're kind of stuck with him.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of, and I think we've all kind of thought about it. I think there's a lot of theory that they're just going to sit him this season and not play him because they don't want him to get hurt again, so that they can just trade him next season or trade him in the off season.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Like, I mean, first of all, who even wants to play in Arizona? Like, I mean, they're the worst franchise by a lot, you know, like when it comes to player facilities, you know, players have to pay for their own lunch in the cafeteria.
We don't have enough time for me to go on my hatred of Michael Bidwell. Like,
meanwhile, the Eagles are giving king crab legs to like their players. like I saw their menu one day, and I was just like, oh my gosh, no wonder players like playing in Philadelphia. You know,
dude, his day will come. If Daniel Snyder finally got taken out, Michael Bidwell's will be coming soon. He is now the worst owner. Jim Irsay talks out of his ass a lot, but no, Michael Bidwell, sneaky, is the worst owner in the league now.
Well, yeah, and you know, I doubt what came out about him. I mean, what came out about him was before the blackmail PowerPoint, you know, and so it's interesting to think, okay, if he was that bad, what was on the blackmail PowerPoint that hasn't come out yet?
Oh my God!
Like, I mean, just what is there, you know? And who knows? I mean, like, we should really start the campaign, like, you know, release the blackmail PowerPoint. You know, that's really, like, you know, like, we should start the hashtag release the blackmail PowerPoint, because that's the only way the NFL is really going to get us off their back.
Dude,
you know?
If someone dropped that on Reddit just out of the blue, that would make me happier than Christmas. Like, I really want to. Somebody just needs. Daniel Snyder just make a burner account and drop it on Reddit, and just when we had Steve on talking about the PowerPoint, I want to see the fallout from that. Like, I don't think that it would crumble the league. I think it's a reckoning that would be fun to watch, honestly. People getting held accountable for some terrible stuff, like, then we can get in the semantics then of the, like, who's criminal versus just a dick. But
yeah, I mean, the reason why Dan eventually got out of the league was because he was stealing money from the owners.
Yeah, criminal. That's what I mean.
That's what got him out. It wasn't the sexual harassment charges that were being brought before Congress.
Yeah.
It was the books, the money, you know?
Yeah. That's why Bidwell's not going anywhere, because Bidwell is just a dick. Like,
yeah.
He hasn't done it.
Snyder was even involved in the John Gruden firing from the Raiders. Yeah, he was a key player in that, and if he had just kept his mouth shut, he would have stayed in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Very true. Very true.
I mean, a couple of things need to come out: the blackmail PowerPoint and about 650,000 emails from the Commanders. Like, like we just need it all. Just, you know, NFL, rip the Band-Aid, drop it all at once, and then you can start with a clean slate and a new commissioner. Like,
we started something with the emails. We took that sign to Green Bay, remember, tying this back into where it all started. We took that sign and we never kept following up on that.
Yeah, we didn't. We were trying to get on TV. We were trying to get that sign on TV, and I worked hard. Like, we were after the post game, I was finding all the players who were interviewing and holding up that sign.
Man.
Yeah,
That was so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, will the league? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think really for that something like that to come out, if true, the only one media place that's heavy that's going after and trying to get this stuff out is profootballtalk.com. Like they're the big players and trying to push for owner accountability from what I see, and like if media can't pressure them, the only other entity that could pressure the league to do something like that is the players. That's really the only other people. Like us here, as much as we do it and do it and do it over and over and over again, I think maybe like us, we try to get out there, we try to put it out there, we try to do our best, but unless maybe we look, like the NFLPA, if they really wanted to make a push, especially with the fact that how their players are consistently by the NFL reported all the time, whatever they do, like the NFLPA really probably has the most power in all of this to get this done. And who knows? They have a new director, so we'll see.
Plot twist: Pat McAfee gets it.
So, question for you guys: what are you most excited to see, or I guess what are you looking forward to? Since we're at the halfway point, what are you looking forward to in the second half of the season?
Well, my bold prediction for next week's game is the Eagles are going to kick earmuffs the shit out of the Cowboys. Like, I'm looking forward to it. And the reason is the last time Dak Prescott played in Philadelphia was week 17 of 2021, when the Eagles had all their backups in and Dallas had all their starters, and Dak Prescott threw for 5 touchdowns and acted like he scored on the 85 Bears. And I truly believe that Nick Sirianni and the players that are still from that team remember that, how the Cowboys and Dak Prescott came and embarrassed themselves. The Cowboys embarrassed themselves. Like, don't get it wrong. They didn't embarrass the Eagles. Like, they embarrassed themselves by doing something like that. And I don't think the Eagles forget. I don't think they will forget. And generally, Dak Prescott does do well against the Eagles, but he hasn't faced Jalen Hurts in over 2 years. And Jalen Hurts is a different player. There's a different offense. It's all completely different. And I think the Eagles, I say the Eagles are like 3-point favorites. Like, take the points. They're going to crush them.
I want to see the back half resurgence. I'm praying for that to happen. I'll put it that way. It's happened before. So, and our coach is great. I think our coach is great. I think if there is a player that's worth adding, their judgment's good and John will get it done. Otherwise, I'm perfectly fine with us having all this money and we actually have draft capital this time. But that's what I'm looking most forward to, is seeing if that can actually come to fruition. So I guess it's more of a hope. I guess game-wise, what I'm looking most forward to, I'm obviously looking forward to the Eagles game. And I am excited that we're going to have 2 holiday games in primetime, Thanksgiving at 8:30, Christmas at 8:30. So hopefully those games will be fun. It's the Ravens and the Seahawks in the other order, but that's what I'm looking forward to. I want to see us finally snap this losing streak and then have those holiday primetime games.
It's not coming to Florida to see me and go to the Jacksonville game.
That of course too. Yes. No, our reunion in 2 weeks is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun, and I have special news for you that I just found out today. One of the former guests that was on this show is going to be here in my house Friday, the day you come.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Which
he got off from work of his busy schedule. And listeners, if you remember the Full Metal Jacket episode, John, movie guru John, is going to be here Friday when Dan comes from the airport to my house, and we're going to have a nice reunion all together.
Ah, nice. Oh, my fiance is gonna love him.
Yeah.
I have no doubts my fiance is gonna love him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Yep. Now that's jumping the holiday games and well,
Yeah.
it will go in tandem. It'll go in tandem. Snapping the losing streak against Dougie P. Sorry, I know you love that guy. We need to snap this losing streak though. Jacksonville just happens to be in our way.
Yeah, it'll be a good game. I think the 49ers won't crap the bed like they have the last 3 games.
I will jump in that pool and cry if we lose.
Yeah.
And guys, just so you know, also coming that week, we are going to be doing an episode live from the tailgate, and we just may have the president of Niner Empire on our show.
Hey, all right.
For the Duval area, yeah.
Cool.
Still pieces coming together, but
Pieces coming together. Hopefully,
we still have what from when this drops. We still have 12 days.
Well, tomorrow will be the final day that they can possibly flex that game.
Yeah.
So we'll know tomorrow if it's 1, 4, or 8.
Yes. Hopefully. Well, I don't know. We'll see. I kind of like our plans the way it is at 1 o'clock, but we'll just roll with whatever.
Yeah, we'll roll. I mean,
not to rush this. I was gonna say not to rush this. I do have to get out of here soon though. But Trevor and Eric, you guys gotta say what you're looking most forward to.
Go ahead, Trevor.
I'm just looking forward to seeing how a chain comes back and what we do to fix our offensive line issues. That's the biggest thing. And if we do well, we should have a secure playoff spot as long as we stay just even 1 game ahead or tied with the Bills at the end of the season. We'll win the division.
So I'm just gonna take for granted that the Niners are gonna fix things and they're gonna turn it around. I mean, I know that's maybe a little bit pretentious, but I'm gonna hope that happens, because if that doesn't, that's just gonna absolutely kill me for the rest of the season. So I'm just gonna take for granted that they're gonna turn that around. So to me, it's actually going to be more exciting to watch the AFC for the rest of the season, just because it's sort of a jumbled mess out there in the AFC, and there's so many teams that are going to be competing and fighting for playoff spots and fighting for number 1 seeds and fighting for positioning and things like that, that I think it's actually going to be really interesting to kind of watch and see what's going to happen and what's going to go on out there. You've got the Chiefs, you've got the Dolphins, you've got the Ravens. I think the Bengals are going to keep shooting up. I think, you're going to have the Chargers are still going to be in the mix. I think the Bills are going to be out there. Who knows if the Jets are going to keep hanging around. I think the AFC is going to be full of a lot more interesting storylines as we keep going through the last 8-9 weeks, whatever it is, of the rest of the season. Whereas I think the NFC is going to be kind of boring, really. Yeah. I think you're going to have the Eagles, the Lions, and hopefully, God willing, the Niners kind of sitting there 1, 2, and 3 at the top, and then just a mess of crap below them that no one's really going to be worried about. I guess maybe the Seahawks kind of sitting below them, and the rest of it's just going to be a bunch of just nonsense that has no chance of winning anything. So it's going to just be kind of boring, really. So I think that the AFC is just going to be the more interesting conference to pay attention to.
I agree, because there's really only 3 more games in the NFC that anybody's going to really care about. And that's Niners, Eagles, Dallas Eagles, Dallas Eagles. Like, I think that's it, because the NFC is just, the Lions have an easy schedule. So nobody's really looking, they don't have really any NFC big matchups, to do. And so, the game, first of all, the game that everybody was looking forward to was Eagles Niners. Like, everybody was talking about that game when it got scheduled, when it came out, like that was going to be the big game in the NFC this year. Niners, Eagles. I still think it's going to be the biggest game. I still think after this bye week, you guys get things together. Steve Wilkes comes around, starts doing twists, stunts, or whatever to get the defense going. And I still think it'll be a big game. And then Eagles Dallas twice, will be the big game. And, honestly, like what other games is the NFC going to have that, people are, the Giants are out, nobody else really looks that good in the NFC. It's really Dallas, Niners, Lions, those teams are really the ones that are coming to the cream of the crop in the NFC. And
it's top heavy. And like Eric said, yeah, the AFC is still anybody's game, really. Like that's gonna be a bloodbath to see who ends up wherever they are in seeding. But yeah, NFC, unless something drastic happens, I mean, our picture's kind of set, really.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the Jaguars too, now 6-2, heading through the second half of the season. I don't know what their schedule's like, but they could definitely make a run at it and be the number 1 seed,
Definitely helps playing in the AFC South.
And then 9:30 a.m. is the Dolphins versus Chiefs, so we'll see who comes out on top in the AFC after that.
Yeah,
that's the number 1 seed.
Yeah, that'll be a number 1 seed. I mean, I honestly think the Chiefs are going to win that game.
Is anyone else mad that Germany ended up getting a game that matters so much? Like obviously it was out of our control, but you should have saw on paper that Dolphins and Chiefs kind of likely that this game was going to matter a lot for playoff implication.
The Bills there instead.
And I would have told you. I would have told you Jags at the beginning of the season. I would have told you Jags Bills was going to be a key game too. So I would have thought that. I love Dougie P. Everybody knows Philly special, whatever. I will always love Dougie P. and what he does. And so, I mean, I was high on the Jags last year. I'm high on the Jags this year. I would really, they made some noise in the playoffs last year. I would say look for them to build on that. And, if you look at Cincinnati's coach, he's been in the Super Bowl and lost. You look at Miami's coach, only been to the playoffs 1 year. You look at the Chiefs, they have Andy Reid. He's won a Super Bowl. Some of the other
Harbaugh's in the playoffs every year.
Harbaugh's won a Super Bowl, but
Dermot's been in the playoffs multiple years.
Yeah, but you're looking at like how many Super Bowl winning coaches are in the AFC. I would say that's what's going to drive the experience that those teams have going into towards the second half of the season. And Dougie P is usually better in the second half than he is in the first half.
Yeah. I just noticed that the Jags are on bye this week as well. I didn't realize the Jags were on bye this week as well.
So there's no advantage for the Niners.
No,
it negates one. That negates one of the 4 times or 5 times. I think it's 4 that we're playing people coming off a bye. Like I think that negates one of them. But yeah, no, it's going to happen a couple more times, so that's unfortunate. Not to. I do have to get going soon, but to like abruptly bring this to a halt. I do want to talk about our sponsor very, very quickly before we sign off on this 100th episode spectacular. We are brought to you by RoyalRetros.com. What is RoyalRetros.com? It is your go-to place for an authentic throwback jersey. They cover all the major sports, basketball, baseball, football, of course. There is a Candlestick Park collection going on right now for all you 49er fans out there. Go to RoyalRetros.com and check it out. And if you find anything you like, use the promo code Shady Sports for a 10% off your entire order. Again, it's Shady Sports in the promo code section at RoyalRetros.com to get 10% off your entire order. Go to RoyalRetros.com and get yourself an authentic throwback jersey today. James, there we go.
Also, guys, before I get into our causes, we're nearing 1,000 subscribers on the Shady Sports Network. So make sure if you subscribe to our show, you go over to the Shady Sports Network and subscribe to their channel to help us get to the total of the network, get up to 1,000 subscribers, because it's a really big deal for the network. And then, I really want to, like we've had a following on this channel for some time now, but I really want to thank the fans that have started watching us on Shady Sports, because like they have come through for us. They have loyally watched our episodes week after week after week, and have consistently bumped up our numbers when it comes to how many people were actually who are actually listening to us. And so I want to thank all those people watching us on Shady Sports, all the people who watch us on our channel, all the people who listen to us on Spotify, Apple, Podcast Addict, Odyssey, wherever you may be, because we couldn't have had this 100th episode if you guys weren't listening, if you guys weren't paying attention. If we don't have you guys listening to us, maybe we give up, we don't end up on the network, whatever. We appreciate you being along for the ride for our 100th episode. It's been great. Hopefully we have another 100 more, and maybe one day Dan will finally get his moment in the sun where he finally sees the Niners climb to the top of the mountain, because that's why we started this podcast, to get there and to have something for us to look back on as the journey processed until a Niners Super Bowl. So
yeah, one can only hope.
Yeah.
I agree with you too. To piggyback off you too. Yes, Sam, Royal Retros, everybody that's watching us through and supporting us through Shady Sports. Yeah, same as James. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for joining us, whether just right now or if you were listening when we were just audio. Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And with that being said, guys, if you listen to our show, watch our show, you know that we have started a campaign to bring owner accountability to the NFL. That's why we have the hashtag owner standards are less than player standards, hashtag owner accountability, because certain owners, like the Houston Texans minority owners, was charged with very serious sexual crimes in Kentucky. The league knew about it for 3 months and didn't report at all until major news outlets reported on it. We want this because if that would have been a player being charged with the same sexual crimes, we would have heard about it very next day from the NFL themselves. So we want the NFL to report on its owners like they do their players, and to show everybody we put our money where our mouth is. We are selling T-shirts to help a Kentucky crisis center. The first one is our statement: owner standards less than player standards, hashtag owner accountability. If you want to make a statement, if you are on our side and want to make that statement, buy this shirt, $22.99, get you in a premium unisex tee. We have different styles, different colors, different sizes, different prices, but $22.99, that's what it starts at for that T-shirt. Next, we have the charity-only owners in a standoff. Part of the reason why owners are the news about owners is coming out is because of a PowerPoint known as the blackmail PowerPoint, which was done by Dan Snyder, who is at the bottom of that T-shirt pointing guns at the other owners. This is a charity-only T-shirt. We will only sell this for charity because we don't want to be sued by the NFL. So $22.99, get you that T-shirt, help a Kentucky crisis center today. Next, we have our podcast logo art. You'll find this on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcast. You'll find this next to our episodes. We have put it on the T-shirt. $22.99 gets you that T-shirt, all different styles, all different sizes. Next, we have our alternate logo, the Niner Nuts with the red background. Plus, we have different colors for that, different styles. One of our supporters got it in a hoodie. Looks sick. All different sizes, colors, $22.99 gets you that in a premium tee. And finally, we have our mascot, the Niner Nuts peanut, eating peanuts while cheering on his San Francisco 49ers. $22.99 gets you that awesome shirt. We want you to have a cool shirt when you donate to charity. All the proceeds go to the Kentucky Crisis Center. Pick one up today.
Yeah, check out bonfire.com. We want you guys to have a cool shirt and help out a family. Like James said, we don't want any of the money for this. We love supporting charities on the show when we can fit them into the schedule. And yeah, we don't want the money for this. We just want you to have a cool shirt and help out a good cause.
Yeah, And so that being said, anybody have any last words?
I mean, I just want to say thanks for letting me be a part of the show. I'm so glad that I entered the contest when you guys had that, way back last year. I mean, it was just a kind of a whim that I entered it. I thought I really didn't have much of a chance to win, and you guys picked me, and I was so shocked and honored that you selected me and that I got a chance to be a part of this, and that I've now gotten to do a number of shows with the two of you. It's been a blast and a fantastic time every time. And so it's just been an honor to be a part of the number of shows that I've been on, and then to be here for this 100th show is amazing. So thank you both very much for this honor.
Trevor, you got any last words?
Just thanks for having me on, and thanks for James for introducing me to the podcast. Even though I'm not a Niners fan, it's still been fun to listen to each week and hear your analysis. And I didn't have to dock you that 1 star for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. And so, guys, Eric, Trevor, great having you guys on. We couldn't have had 100 episode if it wasn't for you guys, for sure. Trevor being a loyal listener from day one. I thank you so much for just supporting us, being a good friend, telling other people about it, just being on board from day one, listening to us. You're a really great friend, Trevor. Eric, you've been great on the show. We look to you, both of you guys, as like family. And we, like I said, we couldn't have got there out with the listeners. We couldn't have got there with you guys either.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, honestly, thank you guys for coming on the times that you have. And again, the listeners for being with us, however long you've been with us. And yeah, I'm not checking Roto World because I want to give my last thoughts as to you, James. Thank you for getting me back into podcasting when I wasn't necessarily thinking about it again. But it's been awesome. And just, I don't know, I'll use my water bottle. Here's to 100 more, man.
Yeah, Dan. I mean, it's been so great doing this with you. I mean, when we first decided to start this, I needed an outlet to, create, I went to film school much like you, but, I'd love to create, but as you know, getting into the business is very hard. And one of the easiest things to do is start a podcast. Like, it really isn't that hard. And guys, if you're thinking about doing a podcast, it's really, really easy. It's the wild, wild west out here. Anybody can have a podcast. And, Dan, I thank you for doing this with me. When you had the movie show, I really felt honored that you had me on to talk about Top Gun of all movies, but a Navy movie. But that's what got me into, listening to podcasts again and wanting to be a part of a podcast. And I'm really glad that, we could do this together. We've made it to 100 episodes, which I didn't know we were going to even get there, like when we started this. And it's just been a great journey with you doing this. And, honestly, yeah, I'm an Eagles fan, and there is this bitter rivalry between them now. But love between friends is greater than a rivalry. And I do hopefully one day for you that you see the Niners get to the top of the mountain, because me personally, that was the greatest feeling I've ever had in my sports life. And you're my best friend, and I want you to have the same feeling. And like I said, it's been a pleasure doing 100 episodes with you.
Yeah, same. It's, God, I don't even know what to add to that. That was a beautiful sentiment to end on. God, I don't know. I got nothing else, man. I just
kick it to River Road then.
Here's to 100 more,
you
man.
have it, guys. No Jimmy B, Indiana Dan's parlay this week because we had the 100th episode. So look for it on Twitter on Friday. We will put that out. So outro music, River Road, Justin Muth.
Love you, buddy. Bye week next week, and then on to Jacksonville. Beat the Jags.
River Road, You got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long. River Road, where have all the women gone? Have they kissed her hand and waved you bye-bye? Have they thought about crossing your double yellow lines? River Road, they love the way you whining.